Just before we start today's video, let me briefly tell you that I have recently released a new EP with my experimental solo music project called VAR UMN. This EP is called Ritual, which contains 4 tracks, each 30 minutes long, so you have 2 hours worth of rhythm and atmospheric raw animism, which you can use for your spiritual purposes, be those for rituals, meditation, to be used in traditional folk magic, etc. You can buy the digital copy of this EP at Bandcamp, and you can also listen to it on over 20 streaming music platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Apple Music, and so on and so forth. I have extended the music genre I have been creating, raw animism, and now you have a long work that will last you for quite some time in your spiritual and magical endeavors. As some of you have already asked, of course, for something longer, right? So you could use it. And here it is. More information about this project in the links below at this video, and more information about this EP soon enough at VAR UMN's own YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your time, your patience, and for listening. Now, let's start our today's video. Enjoy. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome. Thank you for joining me here. I'm Ari Thurger, and today I shall continue within the mood of the season in this last video of October, now talking about other aspects concerning the origins of Halloween, and today focusing on the departed as the reverence towards the dead, among other things such as warding off evil spirits and the celebration of the harvest are universal core aspects of Halloween, as we see in several different cultures from all over the world, which present similar festivities. Now, just before we start, very quickly, I just want to remind you that I have a Patreon. In these almost 8 years of being a YouTuber, I have delivered free content in this platform, and I still firmly believe that information education should be free and open to the public. This, however, has only been possible due to the kindness of and support of my patrons, as their monetary support is of great help to continue to deliver information for free at YouTube and other platforms. As such, if you want to help me to continue with this work, well, consider becoming my patron. And no one is forcing you to do anything, so calm down. And I am well aware how difficult life is, which is why I'm telling you all of this. If you can, please consider that, and you have my gratitude, and the work can carry on. Thank you very much for your support, kindness, and friendship. That's it. Now, here we go to the subject of this video. So, all over the world, many cultures present seasonal celebrations, and attached to them a rich and detailed folklore as a method of oral tradition to preserve knowledge, traditions, and the meanings of celebrations in living memory. I have talked about Halloween in other recent videos. I've also made a video some years back concerning similar traditions, myths, and folklore for Western Iberian Peninsula, and there is, of course, celebrations from other cultures, such as Mexico's Dia de Muertos, the German Walpurgis Night, Pitru Paksha for Hindus, Hungry Ghost Festival for China, and so on and so forth. So celebrations to remember and honor the dead, and or a time of the year more focused on the overall atmosphere of the season and the visible changes in the landscape due to the seasonal natural shifts, which give rise to many myths and folk tales. In ancient Rome, there was the festival called Parentalia, which was a 9-day festival occurring somewhere in late February, which consisted in people bringing sacred offerings such as wine and food to family tombs in order to honor family ancestors, and as spoken in previous videos, also in ancient Rome, the festival of Lemuria, on the 13th of May to purge or drive away, to ward off the spirits of the dead who might have vengeful intentions towards the living. So a series of performances or rites in order to exorcise unwelcome spirits. So Lemuria possibly had a great influence on the Catholic Church's observance of All Saints' Day, as was spoken here in the previous video about the Hallowtide celebration, the Hallowtide season actually. The vernal equinox in March was the end of the year in ancient Persia, and it was thus believed that the spirits of the dead would return to their homes. Curiously, in modern-day Iran, people still celebrate a fire festival called Chahar Shambesuri on the eve of the last Wednesday before the vernal equinox, where bonfires and fireworks are lit. Quite similar to the modern Halloween festivity and the customs we still see in it, originating in ancient cultures which not only focused on the departed, but also on the possibility of evil spirits and the dead with bad intentions might also come along, since there is this belief that the way is open for them to enter this world again. So bonfires allowed ritualistic performances, divination, and many methods of augury on these particular days, all linked to both the ancestors and other spirits, which then developed into, let's say, more appropriate and acceptable forms within modern Halloween, of course. For Europe, across many cultures, there were similar festivals as well as rituals to herald the winter season. In Scandinavia, as an example, the Winter Nights, which was a seasonal period beginning in late October, which included various blood sacrifices, right? But not just any sacrifices, but blood sacrifices, which were a series of festivals or ceremonies and celebrations, or a festival for a long period of several days, which consisted in sacrificing livestock in feasts and rites in honor of the gods. These sacrifices held during the Winter Nights period were likely as a religious performance to aid or in the aid of good harvest, good crops, aimed at honoring and drawing fertility powers, and of course performances towards the reverence of the ancestors, as it was believed that the deceased ones worthy to be remembered and honored could become spirit entities tied to the land, particularly to the land of their home or back to the land of their farmstead, and would thus have influence upon the fertility of the soils. As such, honoring such ancestors would help in the very fertility of the crops and thus lead to good harvests. Some of these sacrifices were quite specific towards the god Freyr, he himself being a deity associated with fertility and good harvests, as well as to the elves, the Olfar, who are often associated with the ancestors, as some of the ancestors could become elves, wights of the land, spirits of the soil, particularly inhabiting their place of burial, and from within the earth they could influence the fertility of the soils, as they themselves would become spirit entities of the earth. It was at this period in Scandinavia that there was also the celebration of Disablot, or a sacrifice to the Disir, in honor of the Disir, the group of feminine spirit entities, which in a way were also linked to the dead in aspects such as fate, but also the power such entities have over the land. And similar to this, perhaps not surprisingly, the Anglo-Saxons also had an entire month of sacrifice, blood sacrifice, which was in November, the culling of livestock and at the beginning of winter and the harvest season. But well, these were just some examples, of course, and others spoken in previous videos of different cultural influences behind the origins of Halloween, despite Samhain being often credited as being the main influence for modern Halloween, but numerous customs, traditions, and festivals, as well as myths and folklore during and linked to the harvest season and during winter, existed almost all over pre-Christian Eurasia. And more so these themes during the dawn of winter for Eurasia, as it is a time of very dark nights. So it gave rise to quite a a bit of very spooky folk tales. In this channel, I have rarely talked about Slavic pagan traditions, myths and folklore, which is a shame, my apologies, as there's quite a lot of interesting subjects, and I would like to eventually give a little bit of a little focus on such subjects, right, in the future, because, well, there's also quite a lot of misinformation, misconceptions, and there's quite a lot of religious aspects to Slavic paganism, which is actually modern inventions, particular to quite a large number of gods and goddesses that were created in the 19th century, actually, as well as interpretations of Slavic paganism from the perspective of Western European New Age religious movements, particularly from Wicca, which just doesn't give justice to such cultural backgrounds and perpetuates quite a lot of misconceptions. But anyway, speaking of this season, in Slavic countries, the 1st of November, in some countries, obviously in the 2nd of November, there's a festival called Dzień Zaduszny, when people visit the graves of their ancestors to decorate them with wreaths, which actually reminds us of the previously spoken Roman pagan festivity of Parentalia, which I forgot to tell you, as one of the sacred offerings were also wreaths. So, as folklore tells us, the light of the candles placed upon the graves gives direction to lost and unfortunate souls who wander between heaven and earth, which also reminds us of the early Catholic belief of purgatory or in purgatory, spoken in the previous video, giving rise to the celebration of All Souls Day and All Saints Day and All Souls Day, to pray for all the dead in order to help them to leave a state of limbo and eventually ascend to grace. So, Dzień Zaduszny is one of two Zende, or Forefathers' Days, the other of which falls on May Day, when people perform pre-Christian rites, rituals and customs in honor of the spirits of their ancestors, including leaving them food. In Bulgaria, the last weekend of January sees Kukeri, a centuries-old Thracian tradition in which people dress up in very peculiar and, to me, beautiful costumes to ward off bad or evil spirits. This is observed in many countries all over Europe, and I have even talked about some of the creatures, not all of them, but some of the creatures people dress up as in my own country for the exact same purpose as winter celebrations, to drive away winter itself, welcome fertility and life-giving powers, and to drive off evil or unwanted spirits. There's plenty of examples like this all over Europe, and I find it absolutely fascinating. For my Italian subscribers, in Italy and Sicily, people bake ossa di morto, a type of cookie or biscuit shaped like bones, and on All Saints' Day these are placed in the shoes of those departed. So I think it is important to have given you some of these examples, because while it is often said that the Irish Samhain and medieval Hallowtide celebrations have helped to perpetuate the idea that during Halloween or during the end of October and beginning of November, or better still, when winter draws near, so perpetuate this belief that the veils between worlds are thinner and there's a closer connection with the dead and other spirits, and supernatural activities are abroad. But as you can see, there's plenty of similar beliefs in several different cultures and in different times of the year as well. Even for pre-Christian Ireland, Samhain wasn't the only celebration which held strong to such beliefs, right? The May celebration of Beltane was also considered to have a special increase in supernatural activity, right? So moments of seasonal shifts, which has a tremendous impact on the animistic cognitive landscape. There's a rapid process of change at such moments. So historically speaking, many other cultures, traditions, and countries saw the shifting of the seasons to be moments in time to honor the dead. And perhaps many of these celebrations in honor of the ancestors being held actually in the beginning of spring may be due to the fact that many deaths would occur during winter. So in moments when the darkness of the world would start to back away and light come forth again, moments in which human communities could again return to the plantation of the fields and resume their activities to produce sustenance. So these were moments for the community, the human community, to get back together, a return to life. And so these were perfect moments to honor the dead as well. Perhaps most importantly, to honor the recently departed, especially those who died during winter time. The point is, as was previously spoken in other videos, even though modern Halloween tradition is mostly an American, mostly US and Canadian export, largely influenced by the Irish Samhain, it has been progressively shaped through the centuries, and it is constantly changing and adapting to different cultural realities, even adopting several cultural and traditional aspects of other festivals and celebrations towards the departed. Even if the adoption of several different cultural aspects from all over the world are just in aesthetic terms, such as the Mexico's Dia de Muertos, right? But I think that this syncretism is actually pretty cool and might bring people closer together, as long as there's an understanding and respect for the religious and spiritual conceptions behind all these celebrations from both the past and the present. Well, my dear friends, I do hope you have enjoyed this video and the previous ones for this introduction on the origins of Halloween. And next year, there's more, provided that I'm still around next year, of course. Well, one way or another, if I become a spirit, I'll definitely be around this time of the year. It is my favorite time of the year. Perhaps not being honored as an ancestor, sadly, but people trying to ward me off, as I will be around haunting the place and doing some kinky stuff. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next video. And as always, thank you for today. Until we meet again, my dear friends.